Okay, let's unpack this. We've tackled some dense documents before, but this one is something else.
Hmm.
We got our hands on a really unusual internal source. It's classified as a high-security recon report, and the title is just The Lunar Skywave.
That title alone, it just immediately tells you this deep dive isn't going to be a straight line from A to B.
Not at all.
Our mission today is to decode
Hmm?
this highly structured, really symbolic rogue broadcast that Intel managed to intercept.
And this isn't your standard threat analysis. It's more like a peek behind a very strange sort of time-bending curtain.
And at the center of it is this very, very irate-sounding cyborg captain.
Exactly. So the report, it details the interception of this broadcast. It says the origin point was, let's see, approximately 3 hours and 55 minutes southwest of restricted zone, Charlie.
Which is their shorthand, of course.
Right.
We know that means the area near the former megacity of New York. So you've got this massive, dense urban area as the backdrop for this flashpoint.
And the broadcast itself was short, crisp, just a little over 7 minutes. But the thing that set off all the alarm bells for Intel, it was the core message.
Yeah, what was it?
It made direct allusions to 52 years of, and I'm quoting here, chaos and crises.
Okay.
But the critical part is why. It said all this chaos was based on a misguided calendrical system.
And that phrase right there, misguided calendrical system, that is our first major clue.
It's a huge tell.
It signals immediately that the subject isn't just a historical event, but it's a direct challenge to the recorded timeline of that event. We're dealing with time, with documentation, with perspective.
And this entire broadcast, it all centers on this alleged historical figure who just sounds, well, he sounds like a character from a fever dream. His name is Wolf Jackman.
Wolf Jackman, yes.
Yeah.
And the broadcast attaches these really specific, kind of bizarre rumors to him.
Bizarre is the word.
It claims he spray-painted hundreds of cars that were stuck in a place called Modesto back in the early 70s.
And then even crazier, that he later sold his own hair for a gallon of gas.
I mean, just think about that image. It's so powerful.
Selling a part of yourself for something so basic. Those details, they're so specific they have to be a key to something.
Oh, they absolutely are. What's so fascinating is that Wolf Jackman is what you'd call a linguistic connection nugget.
Right.
It's designed to point us straight to the real-world source of the reference, the famous American DJ Robert Weston Smith.
Who everyone knew as Wolfman Jack.
Exactly. The weird rumors, the Modesto setting, it all grounds us immediately in the cultural landscape of the 1970s.
So to find the symbolic message, we have to look at the era of Wolfman Jack. The early 70s, right when the U.S. was hit by the oil and gas crisis.
Precisely. The broadcast is layering this futuristic sci-fi narrative over a very real, very specific moment in history.
So the source material is pointing to the U.S. gas crisis, the OPEC embargo, as the key context.
It's the essential backdrop, that whole era, the gas lines, the uncertainty, the economic fear. That's the emotional and political language being used to encode the broadcast's message.
It's basically saying, this kind of chaos, it's eternal.
It never goes away.
Okay, so let's pivot for a second. Let's move from the broadcast itself to the system's reaction to it.
Which was immediate.
Immediate, and honestly, it felt a little disproportionate. The response from the cyborg captain is described as mildly surprised and now irate. I think irate is the key word there.
It's an extreme, almost theatrical display of absolute control. The captain's first order was, seize and destroy all radio transmitters or receivers within a huge 100-mile radius.
100-mile radius.
Yeah.
That's not a response to a rogue broadcast. That's basically imposing martial law on the flow of information.
It just underscores how severe the challenge was. Just a 7-minute message that questioned the system's timeline of its own power. But then the response gets even more specific and deeply geopolitical.
Yeah, there was a separate protocol just for certain manufacturing.
Right.
The report explicitly says that Intel knew exactly how to handle any Huawei and ZTE units that were seized.
And singling out those two, that's a vital piece of the puzzle. Even in this abstract, futuristic world, the conflict isn't just ideological.
No, it's tied to real-world power struggles.
It's tied to pre-existing global fights and surveillance concerns. It immediately confirms this chaos is tapping into old fault lines.
And he didn't even stop there. He then told Recon to start monitoring specific channels between Little Venice, Distrito Columbia, and the Qin dynasty.
So now you're connecting a local rebel action near New York to known geopolitical adversaries across the world. It reinforces the broadcast's whole point that the crisis is perpetual and global, not isolated.
The system sees this tiny broadcast as proof of a much bigger conspiracy.
A synchronized, ongoing conspiracy.
And this is where the narrative structure just gets weird. The analysis in our source material points out that this entire report, the broadcast, the captain's insane response, is actually a remembrance, a flashback. Why is a commander in the middle of all this suddenly having a memory?
That's the structural key for the listener. The source is very clear. This event happened before another known crucial event, the captain's exposure of a treasonous commander.
So as we're reading this, we think it's happening now, but in the captain's world, it's a memory being replayed.
Exactly. It is the third part of what the sources call a lunar triad sequence.
A lunar triad.
And that's a clue that tells us that these events, the economic crisis, the broadcast, the authoritarian response, they're all meant to seem eerily similar, if not running in parallel with past crises.
It's a time loop.
It's a mechanism to show that the players are trapped in a perpetual time loop of control and rebellion. The memory is a template for what he's doing now.
That completely flips the script on the power structure. So the captain, even as he's performing this big show of absolute control, is actually just acting out a part in a preordained loop.
And that theatricality, as you called it, is perfectly reflected in those bizarre counterintelligence orders he gives.
Oh, this is the best part.
It's the most cynical part of the whole report. While he's ordering the seizure of all communication devices, he also tells Intel to place smiley face stickers, a demolition pop-up book, and a little card that just says, "Enjoy the weather," in all outbound shipments.
They're imposing these severe restrictions and simultaneously sending out party favors. It's an incredible level of bureaucratic cynicism. It's almost beautiful.
It is a deliberate display of indifference. It's a power move.
Of course.
It suggests that even the captain, caught in this lunar triad loop, can afford to treat it all like a bad joke. The system is so entrenched that even its most severe actions can be wrapped in a satirical bow.
So now that we've got the narrative loop and the system's cynical reaction, let's go back to the source text itself, back to the broadcast.
Right.
Because it uses history as a puzzle. It's designed specifically to question timing and the very documentation of historical events.
And this is where all that 1970s symbolism becomes so important. The broadcast is basically a poem or a song, and its internal logic depends entirely on you knowing these cultural artifacts.
Let's break down verse 2. It directly references the Wolfman Jack connection. The lines are, read the notes in the graffiti. They say, get your rear into gear. Won't go past 77 out of gas, or didn't you hear?
Okay, so the first two lines, they immediately confirm the link. The word graffiti is explicitly referenced in the source notes as a direct link to the film American Graffiti,
where Wolfman Jack appeared as himself, right?
Yeah.
Yelling all those high-energy slogans on the radio. So the broadcast is using nostalgia for this moment of chaos.
It's a nostalgic trigger. It's designed to connect the chaos of the past to the chaos of the present. But the real puzzle piece, the one designed to challenge the official documents, is that number.
77.
77.
At first glance, that seems totally arbitrary. Like, why that number? Why is that the core of the riddle?
Because the source explains it has this critical, intentionally difficult double meaning. The broadcast is tying geography and chronology together to expose the official lie.
Okay, lay it on us. What are the two meanings?
Meaning one is geography. It refers to the longitude of Washington, D.C., the seat of U.S. government power.
Okay.
Meaning two is chronology. It represents the 77 days that passed between August 1st, 1973, and the official start date of the U.S. gas crisis on October 17th, 1973.
Wow. Okay, so they are linking the physical location of power, DC's longitude, directly to this 77-day gap in the documented timeline. But why that gap? What's the significance?
This is the core insight the broadcast wants you to get. The riddle is suggesting that while October 17th was the official date chosen by OPEC, the political actors, in response to U.S. foreign policy,
Right.
many ordinary citizens were already suffering the effects of a gas crisis or economic hardship long before that official declaration.
So the official date is just a political convenience. It marks the moment the powerful people, the governments and OPEC, decided to acknowledge the problem.
Not the moment the average person in Modesto actually felt the pain of it.
The moment someone had to sell their hair for a gallon of gas.
Exactly. The broadcast is challenging you to ask, does historical documentation actually reflect the suffering of the people? Or is it just a record of when political actors decided to act? It's saying the official timeline is inherently flawed because it serves the system, not the street.
That's a massive claim to pack into a 7-minute transmission. And they keep pushing this challenge to linear sequence in the next verse, in verse 4.
They do, this time using music. Verse 4 reads, "Pay attention to the order. Something is seemingly amiss. Bark before getting too hungry." Could be a clap, could be a kiss.
Okay, so another riddle about order. What is bark before getting too hungry?
The solution is in the source's analysis of the song heading mix that was playing during the broadcast. The creators deliberately messed with the chronological order of the songs they used.
They start with a space reference, don't they?
Yeah, they begin with Louis Armstrong's Moon River, which the source immediately connects to Neil Armstrong and Apollo, keeping that whole lunar theme going.
Right.
Then they sequence 3 references to wolves, and the specific manipulation is with the 2 most relevant songs. They sequenced Bark at the Moon before Hungry Like the Wolf.
And that's wrong.
That's the chronological crime. In the real world, Duran Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf came out in 1982. Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon was later in 1983.
So they flipped the order. The bark came after the hunger in reality, but they forced the bark to come before the hunger in their mix.
They did.
Why? Why manipulate music history? What's the political meaning of putting the warning, the bark, before the impact, the hunger?
It's a commentary on political consequence, on the meaning of the slap or the kiss. It's an inversion of that old principle of bark before the bite. By forcing the sequence, the message implies that the order of harm, the slap or comfort, the kiss that the system delivers is, well, it's of little consequence at times and can arrive in any order.
So it's challenging our assumption about linear cause and effect.
Yeah.
Whether the warning comes first or the blow comes first, the system is designed to hand out both the slaps and the kisses anyway.
Precisely. The system maintains control no matter when its actions happen. And that's why this whole thing is layered inside that Lunar Triad flashback. It's an encoded, symbolic warning, embedded in history, wrapped in a sci-fi narrative where time is fluid and control is absolute.
Okay, so just to synthesize this for everyone listening, you have this hyper-controlling authority figure, the cyborg captain, who performs this elaborate, almost satirical response, all while knowing that the entire crisis is just a repeating cycle.
Right.
And the rebels use the 1970s gas crisis, the real suffering of Wolfman Jack's era, to prove that the official documentation of our own history is inherently deceptive.
And the goal of that broadcast wasn't just to inform, it was to draw attention to the parallel nature of past and current events by exposing the flaw in that official timeline. That critical 77-day gap between the experience of chaos and the political acknowledgement of it, it's a profound warning, but only for those who look closely enough.
Which brings us to the ultimate choice this broadcast leaves for you, the listener. A choice that ties directly back to that idea of manipulated history and chronology. The system will always try to distract you.
And the broadcast explicitly says that. The bridge section says the controlling power will gladly provide distraction. It calls it minimal effort done full writ. They don't have to work hard to keep people compliant.
And then the final choice is presented to the listener, to the person who now knows what's going on. It says, allow them to continue sleep. It's not your duty to wake them.
Wow.
The system provides the crisis, the comfort, and the distraction. It will happily let people sleep through its cycles. The broadcast challenges you, the one who now knows the dual meaning of 77, the one who knows the song sequence is wrong, to decide what to do with that knowledge.
And given that the broadcast argues the system just doles out the slaps and the kisses anyway, the final question is, what do you do? Do you confront the light refractions, that distorted official timeline that masks the real chaos? Or do you decide to just continue the sleep, recognizing that confronting the loop might be pointless?
The knowledge is now yours. That is the lingering thought this deep dive into the lunar skywave leaves us with. Now, you know the flaw in the calendar. What do you do with the time you have left?